And then you're going to take a shift from doing sets of 8, 12, 15 and jump into doing triples and singles, which is going to force your body and your tendons and your ligaments and joints to do adaptations that they're not actually trained and ready to do, which is where the tendon tears will actually stem from. So I don't think...
That's the best I've ever heard that explained.
Yeah, I don't think the tendon...
Bro split.
Oh, a bro split? Like what?
Like magazine or something.
So like back and buys, chest and
Yeah.
fries.
There's, you know, let's dispel this myth real quick. Most of us all got started doing that. Not me. I mean, I was very, very fortunate. But let's be truthful here. I mean, that's how most guys get started and most women get started in these sports. So there's nothing wrong with that because it's teaching you what exercises are working, what muscles, how to focus on the muscles. So
I actually almost, in some way, I think the one body part a day type bodybuilding routine is good for beginners because of the muscle soreness, the much more dramatic localized muscle soreness. When you train biceps specifically for 20 sets, you wake up the next day and you know exactly where you're sore, and so you know these exercises cause soreness in this muscle, and so it might not be the best. Eventually you branch off from that and you learn more advanced training routines, but I don't think it's so bad as a starting program.
No, and I've often said that, you know, even with powerlifters, I think they need to start adding a lot of isolation type movements into their training, because if Justin's trying to build his bench up and we determine that his triceps are what's holding him back, I need to be able to teach him how to pull the bar apart and flex his triceps towards the top of the movement. You know, and if he doesn't even know what his triceps working feels like, and all he knows is pressing, that's a really big roadblock to try to overcome. So that dispels that myth. Now the second part of the question was how to go about a powerlifting program, or when to.
He's 48.
He's 48.
Just what advice do you have for someone like me beginning competition?
Just find a solid program. You know, it's just find a solid program and just work your way through it. There's a million programs online. You know, just 531 is shit. It stood the test of time for what, 20 years or so. You know, jump on that for a little bit. Follow it as exactly as Jim wrote it. You know, don't make any alterations to it. If you make any alterations to it, use lower weight instead of heavier weight. And by far most important, learn how to technically do the lifts correctly. If it means that you don't start the training program for another 8 weeks because all you're going to do is go in and squat with a broomstick, then squat with a broomstick, because this is still a sport, guys. Anybody who's participated in any sport, be it football, soccer, baseball, any sport, you learn the fundamental skills first. The fundamental skills are squatting, benching, and deadlifting. You need to learn how to do those and how to do those properly and correctly before you start engaging and annihilating, just drilling those parts. And when you're on a bro split, sometimes you don't do that because you're just nailing the bench and your form's all fucked up. So you may have to take some steps back, especially from, and I don't know the guy's muscle mass, but I've had a lot of, since John's been coming out here and training, I've had a lot of inquiries from pro bodybuilders and higher level bodybuilders that want to power lift, and Justin will attest to this because I told him the same thing. My first answer is fuck no. You know, if your aspirations are to be a great bodybuilder, it's not worth the risk. And if that's what you desire to do, and you're at that top level, really high level, and Justin can expand on this when I'm done, you actually are teaching your body to move and stabilize the weight with pretty much all muscle. Your tendons and ligaments aren't really stabilizing and absorbing the force the way that a strength athlete would. You can see that when you see a bodybuilder take a bench out, when they take a squat out, and even the way they stand when they row. You know, there's movement in there because they take it out, they go. They take it out, they go. A powerlifter takes it out, they get set, they brace, they go. When you train as a bodybuilder for such a period of time that it takes you to become a national and pro level, your muscles become so freaking dominant in the ability to stabilize that force. And then you're going to take a shift from doing sets of 8, 12, 15 and jump into doing triples and singles, which is going to force your body and your tendons and your ligaments and joints to do adaptations that they're not actually trained and ready to do, which is where the tendon tears will actually stem from. So I don't think...
That's the best I've ever heard that explained.
Yeah, I don't think the tendon tears, I don't think it comes from the myth of steroids and anabolics and all the other kind of stuff. I think it stems from how that muscle's been trained for so long. And if you were to step back and actually build more of a block training program where there's phases built upon first stabilizing the joint and then learning to absorb force and then finally getting into producing force, you can take that bodybuilder who will lose mass, they will lose muscle mass, but they're going to become stronger, they're going to become more dense, and they're going to be able to absorb the load and not get hurt and not tear shit off. And that takes time because tendons and ligaments don't strengthen as fast as what muscles do. Now, from a more chemical scientific standpoint, explain what I just said, because I took it and made it easy.
I don't think I can explain it any better than that. Actually, honestly, that's the best I've ever heard that explained. I think I've tried to explain the issues with injuries and why bodybuilders get tears when they try to go heavy with low rep, but that's a perfect explanation. I mean that explains it very well.
It's really easy to see now that, you know, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, Instagram has got post after post after post, but look at a very advanced power lifter and watch them do a single rep in the squat and look at how they set it up before they even begin to squat. Now look at a bodybuilder doing a set of 10 and look at the difference between the setup and the reps. Now, does that mean the bodybuilder doing the set of 10 is going to get hurt doing 10? No, because they're using something in a 50, 60, 70% range. So there's, as I said at the very beginning of the whole thing, is there's a wider range of latitude that's available to bodybuilding as far as degree of error from a training standpoint, this is the funny part. From the training standpoint, great latitude of error. From a diet standpoint, next to nothing.
Exactly.
Powerlifting, diet standpoint, huge. Training, it's a complete polar opposite.
It is,
So when you're trying to compare the two from the injury standpoint, even the nutritional standpoint, you really can't. You can learn from each other tremendously, but you can't make that shift at the highest levels from one to the other, and even going vice versa. You're not going to do it. It's going to take too long.
You really see what happens too when power lifters when they do try to transition to bodybuilding, have a very, very distinct look and a very, very distinct build that's different than the look of someone who's done bodybuilding entirely. I want to say also, with him being, he said only trained 2 years at 48 years old, I would say really try not to don't let age be an excuse, I guess. Not that you're going to do that, but I can see just by wording that way, you're already kind of convincing yourself or looking at yourself that, well, there's only so far I can go. I started at such a late age. I mean, a lot of the studies show that, especially in certain muscle groups, men hold their strength there's certain areas where men lose their strength. Unfortunately, one of the areas is like glutes, which is pretty important in powerlifting, but hold their strength very well even in their 50s, and that's even with declining testosterone levels that happen with age. But with modern supplementation and things, you can fix that as well if you need to. But I would say, I mean, you look at a lot of the powerlifters, powerlifting and bodybuilding. I guess I'm not as well versed in the 70s powerlifting and what the age groups were where people were putting up the biggest numbers, but I believe the age has increased. It definitely has in bodybuilding. It's gone from guys in their mid-20s being at the top to guys in their mid-40s being at the top. So I mean, it really, you can really maintain strength and increase strength at a much higher age than people certainly used to think and probably still think.